Hello, this is That Your Kid podcast with Todd the Bod Tondera, or just Todd Tondera, that's fine as well. And also, Jake Zerme. We come to you live from, well, actually not live. I don't really know when it's going to be up.
I'm disappointed I don't have a nickname.
Alright, well.
We'll get to that.
Okay, write that down. I mean, I don't really go by the nickname often. I think I just put it in there for an opening, like pizzazz. But we're coming to you not live from about 20 to 30 minutes out of Pittsburgh. And this podcast that you're listening to kind of came of the idea of I wanted to do a podcast, and I've wanted to do a podcast for quite some time, and that's it. Generally speaking, nothing, no solid plans going forward whatsoever about what we do, or who we are generally. But so we decided here, Jake and I, that we were going to team up for this one, and I think first off, we're going to kind of introduce ourselves and say a bit of how we met, and
yeah, that seems like a good way to kick it off.
A good way to kick it off, how we met, and then from there, also why the podcast is called Is That Your Kid? Because generally speaking, I had an idea for the name of the podcast, and it was just very basic. I was just going to call it The Friend Group, because the idea was me and my friends podcasting, because we generally have an interest in listening to podcasts, or at least listening to people talk, and that's it. And so I was like, The Friend Group doesn't really have a pop to it, and so I was like, that's like the working title of it. But then thinking about it, I was like, Is That Your Kid? Sounds like a perfect inside joke. Something that I don't really even understand it. I know what it's about, but I don't know what it means. So, we're gonna just kick it off talking about that, and explaining where Is That Your Kid came from.
I'd just like to say I'm disappointed that the question mark will not be making it into any of the hashtags.
Really? Did I not
I'm not sure. I'm not. No. It can, but I'm not sure special characters such as exclamation points and question marks make it in and get registered as said hashtag. So the hashtag for Is That Your Kid will just be ITYK. No question mark.
No question mark.
So if you're looking for it, don't include that.
Okay. I'm looking at. We don't have an Instagram yet, but I'm looking at the Instagram. My Instagram that I posted a picture on, and you are right. The question mark did not make it into the hashtag, and this was actually a conversation that we had, and saying like ETYK was not a good. What did I say?
You might have said E. We'll find that out in post.
The hashtag ITYK was not like a charming acronym for the show, and we're like, well, we'll just add the question mark to the hashtag.
If you were to pronounce that, how do you think you would, like, itik or
Itike? I don't know.
They're both equally
Ityik.
Yik.
I don't know. There's
all equally terrible, and I kind of enjoy that.
I'm
as well.
I'm adding E's. All right, Ityik would have an E in it. So anyway, the hashtag will be ITYK. So if you want to hashtag regarding this pod, it's going to be ETYK.
Cool. You're still saying E. It might be I. It might be Y.
It's the correct hashtag for this is ITYK. I, as in
good.
Is.
Todd, there's going to be at least 2 hashtags out there in the world with ETYK.
And that wasn't even like a bit. I was really just saying that by accident. So it is ITYK is the hashtag for Is That Your Kid. And
I feel like we're reviewing for some sort of pop quiz.
Yeah. And you're already hashtag based on you know nothing about the podcast. Well, that's good because that's right where we are.
4 minutes in, I'm pretty sure they're already posting about it.
They're already posting about it. So
the youths out there.
So I think that I think people who listen to this, what we could call the kids, the kids. Is that your kid, and then be the kids?
You do what you think is right, because they could be our kids.
They could be our kids.
I don't have any kids.
I don't have any kids.
Well, this leads us to an introduction, I'd say.
Yeah.
Why don't you go?
Okay, I'll go. I don't have a kid. That's who I am. But basically, okay, me. Oh boy. All right. So here's what I do. You may know me from nothing. I do college admissions in Pittsburgh. I also do photography on the side. With that, I've been working in college admissions for longer than you may believe. I have been working in college admissions since, okay, I'm going to say 6 years. Not straight. I had a break where I did some other stuff. But I am the guy you talk to about going to school.
Getting into your higher education.
Higher education, post-secondary.
You've done recruiting as well. You travel to
yes,
high schools, things like that. Get them interested.
I've for a long time I traveled to high schools, presented the program I represented at the time. It was an art program, and to get them interested in the arts, and I did demonstrations. Little lessons, little games, and then I actually enjoyed it somewhat. It was super long hours though, just because where I was working, it was kind of, the management was really harsh. So like I would have to wake up early, go to the school, do my bit, and then come back to the school the same day. So I was working a lot of like 9-hour days, 10-hour days, and
you did a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling around Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
At this time, I'm cutting off an annoying tag off the inside of my shirt.
My backstory is so interesting. That
I'm not even.
The 3 minutes into it. My counterpart is like, yeah, I've clocked out.
Well, I'll tell you, it's tickling my side, and I won't have it. I won't stand for it. We've got a lot to go.
You're not sitting for it.
Well.
Okay. Anyway, back to this. I did that, and then I actually work in downtown Pittsburgh now and do the same thing, and I do in-house admissions. So I talk to you about going to school from the building. And I've actually done photography on and off since about the 10th, 11th grade. I'm 26. Is that how old I am? I was asking my family either yesterday or the day before.
Did they not know how old you were?
No. They did. I wasn't sure. Because I was like 26, right? And they're like, yeah, you're 26. I'm like, okay. Because I don't know. Anyway, so with that said, I've done photography. I've had my work up around Pittsburgh area. I'm not well known by any means like that, but it's something that at first I wanted to do as a full-time profession, but I kind of dropped the idea of the profession, and I like to do it for fun, because when I got too serious, I was just like, yeah, I don't know, because I'm not into like, I don't know. I come off really bad when you first meet me, so
So it's going really well for the first podcast here.
Yeah, so like when you first meet me, like I come off really bad, I feel. And so those who stick around to get to know me, it's not one of those like, oh, right away I'm on point. Like right away it's just like, I could see how I would like him someday. So, but I do enjoy it, and I still do that. And I'm also a big-time WWE wrestling fan, and also a football fan. I've been a football fan since 1994 is when I first saw my first football game. So part of this podcast along the way will be about both of those, and that's where I thought Jake would tune out, but he tuned out 2 minutes into my intro.
For those of you, I did get the tag off. I'm good to go. I'm tuned right in.
And I've known Jake since, what's the year? Give me a year.
I was 2005 or 6.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, 5 or 6. I actually knew Jake through friends of mine who they'll be on at some point, and I knew his older brother, and I'm gonna wait for the story about his older brother because Jake said I have this story like how
you have to tell this.
But basically, I knew his older brother, and like through a mutual friend, and I always knew he existed, but it wasn't until about 2006 that I started hanging out with him. And since then, we've done a lot of cool things, especially recently, in the past year. We've both had ankle injuries.
Yeah, interesting.
That's something we shared together. And Jake went through his ankle injury before I did, and so he was able to tell me what to do with the ankle at some points and relate to my injury in the sense of, like, he's like, oh, yeah, it'll turn this color, or it'll turn that color.
It will turn strange colors, though I'm not sure you should have taken my advice. Only mere weeks after I had my ankle injury, we actually participated in that 5K run.
We did a 5K.
Our very first 5K, and weeks before I sustained this injury was not great for running.
Mm-hmm.
But we made it.
Yeah. And
it's probably ill-advised.
Your shirt's still over there.
It might be. It was ill-advised, but that leads me to how we met before my intro.
Yeah.
Folks, the first time I saw Todd, he was dressed as McDonald's French fries. It was Halloween. He was dressed as McDonald's French fries, trying to get into the men's bathroom in our high school. So his French fry costume is wide, very wide, in fact, wider than a door frame. Could not make it through. He did try. He did have to turn sideways to get into the bathroom, and that's my first memory. I said, "Oh, those French fries made it." And once I knew that he was friends with our mutual friends at the time, that's actually my first memory of Todd. So
I had this bit that when I was in high school that I would like dress up for Halloween, and
you weren't the only one.
There was some people that will also do it, and like every year, like I did it because it was fun, obviously, but then like it was always like, this is like years down the line, if people would say like, yeah, you were that fry suit the one year, and I didn't know that it would go over that well, so like I'm proud that's one of my proudest moments at Halloween, and I don't remember that situation. Of course, I don't have a very good memory, but something about that year where you may know or not know is the fry. If you remember the back of the fries, like it was like fold back.
Right, you had it held up with some sort of contraption.
Yeah, yes. So you do. I had a ruler that would I taped it to my back,
right, up
the costume, so it was on my lower back taped, and then it stuck out the back of my thing, right, and it held the fries up. And
extra durability,
and this kind of gives us a good segue, and so I will find that picture of me in the fry suit and post it on our Tumblr. And our Tumblr is oh man.
We should be able to edit that out or just leave it.
Leave that. Our Tumblr is isthatyourkid.tumblr.com. You could also hit us up on Twitter at isthatyourkid, and also isthatyourkid@yahoo.com. I did all three of those. So at some point I'm going to have maybe you work one of them at some point.
This is like a second job here you've got going.
Yeah,
that's fun.
So you could hit us up on all of those. But if you want to do your little introduction.
No, absolutely. All right, folks.
Yourself.
So my name is Jake Zerme.
Spell it.
Jake or Zerme?
Zerme. Spell Zerme.
So it actually sounds like a Z, but it starts with an S. It's Hungarian. S-Z-I-R-M-A-E. Well, why am I spelling it? There goes anonymity out the window. There you go.
Right.
That's the idea.
Well,
anyway.
That's not easy to... I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question.
I'm not worried. So I am a music teacher. I hope, my goal is to be a band director somewhere, maybe a high school, middle school. That's good. My current position is kindergarten all the way to 8th grade, so it's K to 8. And I just do, I do some choral. So I have 2 choirs that I direct. And that's pretty fun. They're both private schools, so they're smaller. There's maybe, let's see, the one's got 250 students. The other one's got closer maybe to 275, 300. So from K to 8, that's how many. There's about one classroom for every grade. And I enjoy that. That's a lot of fun. Get to hang out with kindergartners. By the way, I hope to have at least some of them in here, record them, maybe record their responses, see what they think. But we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, I am a musician. I've played trumpet since maybe 4th grade, and among other things, I kind of play obviously piano and a few other things. I just play instruments for fun. It's one of my hobbies. Just learning something new is always fun. Just trying to crack the code and figure that out. But besides that, my goal kind of just be to move up in the world, become a band director somewhere. But I am enjoying my time. I'm 24 years old, and I also live right here outside of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun.
And the fear that I mentioned to Jake beforehand is his intro I knew was going to be a lot better than mine. And I was just like, you're going to put me to shame because it lines up pretty good.
Well, I'll say this, folks. I'm pretty sure Todd makes more money than me, despite the fact that I teach at 2 separate schools. He still makes more money than me. I'm part-time music teacher at 2 schools. Does not bode well.
Well, I don't know. That may be true, but I don't feel like it's part of it. But that is us anyway, and that's kind of how we met. And I remember an early memory of Jake, and I'm not sure. No, there is a story that I'm going to tell later that Jake knows the story I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell it now because we're going to wait on that for a bit. Let that cook.
A defining moment in our friendship.
Yeah, we'll let that cook, so that's a further episode. But my earliest memories of Jake would probably be, we have a mutual friend, Ryan, and he'll be on at some point, hopefully. And it was in his basement. We all used to hang out in, and that's like when I first was started to hang out with his friend group. This was probably 2005, 2006. We all went to the same high school, all of us, and most of the people that would be on went to the same high school. And we all used to hang out in in our friend Ryan's basement.
It was the gathering spot.
It was like the gathering spot. And at the time, like, we had, like, we used to just watch, like, on-demand videos on there and do a bunch of, I mean, pretty much what we do now. Is there much of a difference between a hangout then and now?
Nothing terribly different.
It's nothing terribly different, we just drink now. As opposed to
add that into the mix.
Yeah, just add that to the mix. But I remember Ryan and Jake used to talk about, like, ska. At the time, it was pretty big. And I just remember thinking, it was fine with it. It's not that I didn't. One of my favorite bands growing up when I was younger was the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Oh, nice.
And that was like, I was into that, but
I had no idea. That's cool.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. But really, before that time, so I knew what ska, like, I understand ska, but I generally grew up on, like when you say, like, emo music, but, like, when emo is actually, like, a counterculture and not, like, a word. I listen to a lot of that, and I listen to a lot of punk growing up, like, new school punk, not, like, 80s punk, but, and also, like, new wave. Favorite band being the Smiths, pretty much always. But anyway, the reason why I said that is because it was like I was getting introduced to the friend group and what everybody was into, and Ryan and Jake were into that, and I just remember my earliest conversations with Jake were based on, like, oh, so here's the new Real Big Fish song, and that was
one of my first real shows that I had been to, at the time, at least.
Was Real Big Fish?
It was Real Big, yeah. I went with Ryan and Tony, and who else? There's got to be other people that went with us. But Ryan's mother dropped us off in Pittsburgh, and then she picked us up after the concert.
Where was it at?
It was at Club Zoo down there.
Oh, okay.
Maybe before it was that.
Okay. Yeah, I think
but it was 21 and under, so we could get in.
Yeah.
And drink Mountain Dew inside.
Good. My first show, my first concert, was Ozzy Osbourne,
Wow. Okay.
and I fell asleep.
Okay?
The caveat to that is I was taken. You know what? That's a lie. It's not. No, that was my second. The one I fell asleep at was Aerosmith. I went with my mom and dad and sister, and I was a little dude, and we went to see Aerosmith, and it was at the Post-Gazette Pavilion, which at the time was Star Lake Amphitheater, and they had like tables there, and I just pieced out. I was like, this isn't my shit. Like, I'm done with this. And then the next time Ozzy, that's when I was like, this is music.
A lot better.
This is a lot better. And then in 8th grade, I saw Alien Ant Farm. And let me tell you, after that show, my life had changed. Once I saw Alien Ant Farm at Metropole, at the time, which I think that's what Club Zoo is now.
Okay.
So we may have seen the same show. Not the same show, but the same venue for our first show. Then after that, I pretty much hung out in the early 2000s at Club Laga in Oakland, which is right outside of Pittsburgh. That shut down, but it was like this old club, and I used to go there often. I'd say, not often, but probably once a month to see a show. I also went down to the American Music Cafe in Murraysville. That used to be a cool deal.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, that's where I kind of saw like the early days. But I didn't know that we actually saw our first show at the same...
One of our first shows, because I've lied a little bit too. I was very young. And I was young, and one of my very first shows, before Real Big Fish, I consider that my first kind of, I was a teenager at least. But before I was even 10 maybe, I saw Weird Al Yankovic with my family. So that was a thing. And that was right in his Bad tour, the Michael Jackson.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that.
And why would you be? Why should anyone?
No, I know who he is, but I'm saying like the Bad tour is not going to be like, oh yeah, that era.
Yeah, someone.
I don't really know.
Someone will know. But that was it. That was my real first one. I had to stand on. There were chairs. It might have been at Post-Gazette or Star Lake. But yeah.
And well, that's. I mean, I guess you never knew that. I mean, that's kind of cool. Now we've went to shows before, but like shows on our own.
Yeah.
Alien Ant Farm would be the first one that I went to. And but I think, I mean, to kind of like sum it all up before we move on here about what we want to do with the show, because generally speaking, I thought this part would be about 10 minutes, and the rest would be what we want for the show, because we do have a lot to go into. And Jake, I think Jake and I make a good team, a podcasting team as well, because I think we're really different in every aspect. I mean, I think there's times where I tell Jake, I'm just like, I don't know how he processes things. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of hard to describe. And it's just always like, you don't know what he's really thinking about most times. And like, it doesn't even get, for lack of a term, it doesn't get any better if you ask him and he tells you, because you still don't know if that's how he feels about it. Because you'd be like, hey, do you want to go grab a bite to eat? It'd be like, sure. Like, that's it? Like, yeah, sure. And it's like, so do you want to do that? Like, I don't know that. So it always kind of blows my mind.
I think we're equally what am I trying to say? Not perturbed, but distressed in some ways at each other's like habits in the way that we live. Very different.
Very different, but I think that's what kind of makes this work, because part of us kind of it's not that part of us understands that the other person is that way, so we're just like, okay, this is how they're probably going to react to this. So knowing that, we have our own formulas of explaining to the other person.
We kind of break it to each other easily.
Yeah, easy. And
that's a great way. I'll say this: it's a good way to segue into an idea that I have for the show.
Okay.
And that is sort of like a day in the life of Jake and a day in the life of Todd, and see maybe how they differ. Because I know that the way that I approach my day on any given day is astoundingly different from the way that you approach anything.
Yeah.
Even so much as waking up, your first half hour awake, I guarantee will be very different. And I hope to maybe put at least a segment of that into one of these podcasts. That would be great.
Yeah, I'd like that idea. And so again, to say this, the pilot episode. This is the pilot episode. We just want to introduce ideas for what may be to come to the show. So that would be cool to just like the day in the life of,
or just anything.
Anything.
Going to the store. How
we go about things.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I know, and we've discussed this, one thing that we kind of see really eye to eye on is we do look at if we're buying something, we look at the ounces. And like
that way, and I didn't know you did that until I saw you doing that at one point or another.
Yeah, and we look at the bang for your buck. The bang for your buck, really.
Right.
Is how we look at that. And I think we both do that.
Still, to this day, I do. So, to put it into perspective, if you're buying, say, a bag of chips, and they're both all the types of chips are the same price, what we're saying is that Todd and I will both check the net weight to see what chips will yield the most content.
A lot of that, let's be real, it's an empty bag. Like, it doesn't really matter the bag size at all.
Never.
Because it's just like, what...
This is an ounce.
The contents of the bag. And I don't know if maybe they do know it, but look at that. Look at that and reevaluate how you spend money. Because if you look at that, a lot will change for you because you won't be disappointed in the fact of you just open a bag of chips and be like, there's not a lot of chips here. Well...
You should have checked.
You should have checked the chips.
It's your own fault.
You should have checked your chips, and you should feel bad about that decision. And I encourage you to feel terrible about those chip decisions that you have made prior to doing this. But if you do this already, we're fine.
Clear. And if you don't, there's still time to change.
There's still time to change.
Your next trip could be the time you do it right.
So idea number 1 would be a day in the life. Day in the life of
in any order, yeah.
Day in the life of Todd. Okay, so
just the dichotomy of that's a $10 word right there.
Yeah.
Dichotomy of me and you, I guess.
Okay, I like that idea. And I'll switch over to an idea that I have. Now I will say this about some of my ideas. I was drunk when I wrote most of them. So there is some that don't even make sense to me. And it's just one of those things, because I'm a type of person where I think of something, I'm like, write that down, write that down, write that down. And I write it down. And when I go back to it, 3 things happen. Number 1, I go, what does that even mean? I don't know what that is. Number 2 is, if I still understand what it means, being able to explain that to somebody. I'm not able to do that well at all. So that's a problem. And number 3, even if it's still a good idea, half the time I won't do it. So, on that note, some of these, I wanted to do, record live from a fast food establishment.
Okay, so you'd like to go, can we eat?
Yeah, like, a Wendy's or a Subway or a Taco Bell or something, and just set up there. Really no other dynamic aside from that. Maybe eating the food there.
Well, apologies in advance for any eating noises.
I'm glad he explained the noise, because that would be one of the things I wouldn't know where he was going.
And to bounce right back on that, I'd love to interview someone from the restaurant.
Yeah.
Or just record our failed attempts at trying to get people to talk.
Yeah.
Talk into our.
And I just want to set up shop there would be cool. Another one that I was thinking of, and here's one of those half-cooked ideas. So I'll give you one that maybe is a little thought out. Here's a half-cooked idea, and this is, I promise you, I'm looking at a text edit file on my Mac, and this is what it says. It says, put flashlight in your eyes and then see if you can see. In parentheses afterwards, it just says, you know what I mean.
I don't.
And that's one of those that I would say, and then I don't know what that's what I had written. And I had actually found that one about a week ago, and I think I may have told you that one. I don't know, but I was just like, I don't know what that meant.
I have no idea.
But it's put flashlight in your eyes and then see if you can see. You know what I mean. And so that's one of them. Another one is, and this I think I shared with you on that. I said, interview someone that worked on an airplane before.
No, I do remember this one. And
interview someone that has worked on an airplane before. So if you worked on an airplane before, let me know. I mean, that's
any job,
even
luggage, or do they have to like be in flight?
I don't think so. I mean, the description's written, interview someone that worked on an airplane before. I'm just interested, and I thought of this one because I recently took a trip to Chicago, and I went to Chicago for business, and I'm not very good with flying. I'm just real weird about it because when, a lot of people are afraid of flying. So I don't say any more than the average, but maybe just a little more than the average. And I was thinking that people on planes have to see stuff and like hear shit that it's just common knowledge that they never tell the passengers. And so I want not generally a horror story, but just interview someone that has worked on an airplane before, just because I want to hear behind the scenes,
the scary things that no one might know,
the scary things that no one may know that is happening. Like as simple as like, oh, we were on the runway and we left without the luggage, and that's why we had to swoop around, and we never told them we had to swoop around.
Right.
All into the,
like this one time we forgot all the in-flight peanuts.
Yeah.
And we had a whole flight.
Right.
6-hour flight, no peanuts.
Something as mundane as that, or something as like complex as, we were running out of gas because we didn't fuel up, and we just took off, and it was bad, but nobody ever knew because the flight was fine.
Right.
We landed on time, so no one ever
averted.
knew. So that's where that one came from. Interview someone that worked on an airplane.
I think that should be a long-term goal of both of ours to, in our everyday lives, seek out someone who has been employed by an airline.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a long-term. Mm-hmm. Is that your kid goal?
Is that your kid? Has your kid worked on an airplane before?
Okay, well, in terms of the half-baked ideas, I didn't so much think of my own. Rather, I asked people that I know what their opinion of what would make for interesting discussion.
Oh, okay.
And I'll leave them all. They're all random. These are all different folks. And some of the things
I don't think I knew that
you don't know this. Okay. Some of these things I have no idea why they even suggested these things. So we'll start with different types of grass.
What is that?
This is a topic I asked, and I'll tell you the question. I said, my friend and I are starting a podcast. Okay. We're thinking of ideas for a show, for goals, for the show. If you had to think of a theme for maybe one of these, what would it be? And the number one response, the first one I got, different types of grass.
What does that mean?
That's up to you.
All right, I'm gonna write that down. Different types of grass.
And it's not drugs. I'm confident that this person meant like your lawn.
Okay.
So we're thinking crabgrass. Well, let's not get into it.
No, don't spoil that. I mean, it's on the keepers list right now.
Okay. Okay.
Different types of grass.
Discussion. A female said this next one. Women's periods. This is a female entry. Strange. I was very taken aback.
Okay, maybe we could have.
I'm against this one. And they followed it up by saying, I feel like guys might come up with funny things to say about that. That was their response.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. By the way, I would like to reinstate these are all different folks.
These are all different people coming up with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I presented the questions in the wrong way. Maybe they're thinking. I might have.
You could.
I do that a lot. I'm very misleading.
Yeah.
I think they were trying for like the quirkiest, strangest things rather than something we could actually use.
Oh, that's
last
fine.
one. Toenail shapes. And density of said toenails.
toenail shapes, density of said toenails. Now, I'll say this.
I don't pay attention that much, I don't think.
I'll say this. I don't know if that could work just because what's the topic on that?
I don't. This is why this is my half-baked idea category.
Okay. Oh, these are all half-baked.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
They certainly sound like it.
See, so
to
far,
me,
different types of grass is cool. Because I feel like there's
that one's okay. That one's
a
okay.
way around that.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's kind of the
great
last one.
I mean,
another.
all...
Can I present a serious one?
Yeah.
An idea that I have would there's a lot of popular podcasts out there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we make a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few weeks in a row we could do this. We could pick and choose. But my idea is, and this might exist.
Yeah.
A podcast parody. So every week we design our podcast around another podcast. Not imitate it fully, but the way that they set up their podcast and go about doing it, that's what I'd like to do. So This American Life, we'll go and interview people, have little segments here and there, but it'll be Is That Your Kid? In the style of This American Life.
It'll have that public radio pause where they say something like very intuitive, and
I hope so.
It's just like, and so I just got up out of bed and I went about the day, and then it's just like.
So if you have any suggestions, maybe your favorite podcast,
like dead air, and then there's that like NPR like jingle,
absolutely,
and then Ira Glass comes in.
So folks, if you have one, send it to us. Love to hear it.
See, that's a great idea because I have on my list Ode to Night Vale.
Okay, that's what gave me the idea.
From the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, we're both fans of that, and I have on this list. Interesting, I'll delete it because podcast parody to have our own Welcome to Night Vale-esque.
I'd say we should do one in the style of Night Vale. That'd be great.
So again, what we're listing out, we may use all of these or none of these, but this is just ideas for the future, so you could stick around. A lot of them that I have are interviewing people, so we have to figure out the Skype call situation because I attempted to install a few different recorders and none of them worked. But something, and this is kind of like a two-part piece here. To back up a little bit, both Jake and I are fans of the Chris Gethard Show, which is on MNN
out of New York.
Out of New York. It's and I think a lot of the the listeners to the show are going to be the chat rats, and all the chat rats. I know you. I know who you are. I listen to your podcast, so that's why it's going to come back around. And something that Jake and I both agree is we really like Andrew Hot Dog Parrish, and I would love to have Andrew Hot Dog Parrish on a phone Skype interview.
Whoa! You think you can make that happen?
I think I can make that happen at some point.
Man.
And
I didn't know about this, and I'm very excited. Frankly, very excited
because we have learned that he works with kids, and Jake works with kids, and I think it would be a great opportunity to talk about, talk shop, working with kids, and and also something about that's interesting. If I call into the show, I mean, people know me from Todd from Pittsburgh, and Jake is actually called into the show. But here's something funny about that. I'm not going to say what episode or what name he gave, but he has called into the episode. And the call, would you say it went over well? I don't think it really went over well.
It might have been, no.
And so the chat rats, a little homework for you guys. Jake did call in on the show at some point.
Really offended
Chris Gethard, and which he apologizes for. Getting Chris on the podcast would be awesome as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, he's a busy guy. But, that would be cool if I could have it. But I'm just saying, if we're talking personally, having a hot dog, I think, on the show would be great.
Man, I still feel bad about that. I didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't intentional.
It was
intentional. He did turn it around on me.
He
turned it around on me really quickly.
Yeah, he didn't think it would he didn't think it would come off bad. And it just was like one of those things. It was just like, oh.
It's just a Christmas. That's what it is.
But, I met Chris a bunch of times. and we talk and stuff. And he's a real cool guy. So, Chris, if you're listening to this, we would love to have you on the show.
And congratulations.
Congratulations on,
Comedy Central.
Comedy Central. Hopefully that pilot gets picked up. But now that TCGS is returning to MNN, first week of April. So I'll be back to calling the show occasionally. So you chat rats, I guess you're what's going to drive this podcast, at least here, if it's going to go anywhere.
In the beginning
stages, we're going to need your help. But yeah, little homework for you. Try to find Jake. And
That's absurd. What kind of homework assignment is that?
Try to find him on one of the episodes.
Maybe they were there.
They could have been there.
Maybe.
There's also somebody that I think may know already that I may have told, but I don't know if I did. But they're not affiliated with the show.
Such mystery.
But if you know who Jake is by the voice, let us know that that he's caught. And talking about interviews, this is kind of taking an interview in a different direction. Interview from relatives that we don't talk to anymore. So call a relative that you haven't talked to in maybe 5 years.
Oh.
And
now, will they know that they're being recorded, or just kind of leave that go?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Like, at least don't open up with it. Don't open up with, like, you're being recorded. Like, maybe then say, like, well, hey, thanks, just to let you know, I recorded this. Like,
what a zing.
Because, I mean, relatives, let's not lie. One thing relatives are doing right now is they're getting older. We are too. We're not little kids anymore. So it's like to have an interview of a relative over a Skype call that we don't talk to anymore. Not that we have, I don't know, there's so many people in my family I don't talk to anymore for one reason or another. And it's just like, let's see, the reason why, let's get real about why I want to do this, because I actually, working in Pittsburgh, I had lunch in Pittsburgh. It may even have been on Friday that I went to lunch in Pittsburgh, and I had like a second cousin that was at this restaurant that I was at. I walked in and saw him eating alone at the restaurant, and I was like, oh, I want to get out of here. I don't want to, like, it's just a weird, like, I don't want to say, hey, and him, hey, and not that he's like bad dude. It's just like he's a cool guy. I just didn't know what to say, and I got nervous, as you know I would do, and I just bailed. I tried to eat this Chinese buffet, and I tried to just hide in the corner so he wouldn't talk to me. And I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm out. And then when I was walking back to my place of business, I was like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? I don't know. I just get real weird about that, and I didn't want to. I don't know. I just hate those stop and chats. Like, hey, so the weather, what's up? How's life? It's like, I don't like that. So
You're not alone. You're not alone in that. I'd say no one likes it 100%, but I can't close the conversation. I don't know when too much is
open.
I don't know when it's too much. When it's too much. When have you talked about a suitable amount where you could part ways? So I just maybe keep going.
Once I get going, I'm okay. So maybe like you start it, and I'll finish it, because I know when to cut things off. I don't know when to start things. So that's another one. Also, here's another one, and I'll let Jake go after I do this one here. Another idea that I had is, and actually, I came out in a public sense that I've actually been seeing a therapist since I was like 16, on and off. And I came out in a public sense not too long ago. And there's people, it's not like it was a secret, it's just something I didn't really say or talk about. And I had actually talked about this podcast in the session there, and I was just like, ideas for that. And I was like, yeah, you could like listen to it and stuff like that. And he was like, okay. And he came up with this idea that I think you're gonna like. It's weird towns across the United States. So we find a weird town just by Googling,
weird towns
in USA, and like just have like a 10-minute bit on each town. So it's just like, I found, like Little Dixbury, Michigan, and we talk about Little Dixbury, Michigan for 10 minutes. and we go through the wiki. We find all kinds of information.
How it was founded.
What people do there.
How haunted it is.
How haunted. That would be great. How haunted on a scale of 1 to 10. Like the haunting level.
Maybe if it doesn't list that in the wiki, we could just give our guess as to how haunted. That should be the last thing.
That's the whole thing. We want to obtain information to figure out in our own heads how haunted it is. And to go a step further, if we get Skype calls working by them, dial a random number with that area code from Little Dixbury, Michigan.
Okay.
And have them say, like, you know, hey, this is Jake and Todd from Is That Your Kid? Podcast you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Some information about Little Dixbury, Michigan. What's going on? What's going on there? And again, we could, like, kind of champion in the idea of how haunted. Let us know how haunted. And if they're just like, I don't know, be like, well, let us know.
Maybe how haunted is your house, per se?
Particularly. I grew up in a haunted house myself. That might be a good episode, too. Just talking about my haunted house.
You can do that.
Because it's not that haunted anymore. But growing up, it was super haunted. Super haunted.
He's told me stories, and I felt uncomfortable about it.
And speaking of the Chris Gethard show, my first call into the show was talking about my haunted house, and I won a t-shirt. That was a couple Halloweens ago.
Oh, is that your Banana Man shirt?
Yeah. It's my Banana Man shirt. And, so yeah. So it's called, just Weird Towns, and find out information about weird towns, and just have a little segment each from these weird towns. And, a lot of information, and bottom line is, how haunted is this town? So, that's one I think we should keep.
I should write it down. Because I feel like I should write it down.
Yeah.
How haunted is your town?
So far from my end, we have put flashlight in your eyes and then see if you could see, in parentheses, you know what I mean. Interview someone that worked on an airplane before. Episode from a fast food establishment. Jake has so far different types of grass. Women's periods. Toenail shapes. Density of toenails. Etc. Podcast parody. Interview from relatives we don't talk to anymore. Interview with Hot Dog Parish.
Interview with Hot Dog Parish.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And weird towns.
And strange towns.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe every week we could get more people to give us really awful themes and never use them.
Yeah, we actually could lie to the public and say, give us your themes, and maybe we don't use any.
Never.
None of them. And again, you could hit us up at isthatyourkid@yahoo.com, isthatyourkid.tumblr.com, and on Twitter at isthatyourkid. So these are all different forms to let us know how bad we are doing. And I think I'm going to give Jake the Twitter, because I don't really know Twitter. I know Tumblr. You know?
I could do that.
So if you do the Twitter, I could do the Tumblr.
Sure, absolutely.
Because
we'll make that happen. So let us know what ideas you like, what ideas are not going to work. Think of something new, and we may or may not use it.
And to close everything out, I have 2 more ideas. I don't want to. Do you have any other ideas?
I'm thinking of one right now. We find old.
Is just coming.
This is right new.
Shooting from the hip.
Brand
right
new.
Now,
I'm thinking right now we find old scripts and read them at first sight and act them out right here. Maybe
this
5 minutes.
This is what I'm talking about. What does that mean?
Just 5 minutes worth. So I'll read my part, and you'll read your part, and we'll just go through the script.
Scripts. Read scripts. Maybe we fast track that one, because that doesn't seem too hard. We just open up scripts. Like I could just.
We can open up the same one and just read through it.
That doesn't seem too hard.
And we'll act it out. I'm gonna try my best. I don't know about you. But...
Okay, yeah, I'll try. So, I put in parentheses, read scripts, fast track. So maybe we'll do that for episode 2.
Okay.
That's a great one. And something that Jake and I have talked about is the Scavenger Hunt. The Scavenger Hunt.
It's true.
And with the Scavenger Hunt is one episode that we announced. The next episode is the Scavenger Hunt. Now, between episodes, we'll make a list of things that we could find on the Scavenger Hunt. And then the next episode, we bring it in, and from that, we count up how many items we have, and then we establish a point system. and whoever has the most points, the following episode, that person doesn't tell the other one any plans. So it's all up into that. The creative decisions are 100% on the person who wins the scavenger hunt. So, we did speak to Momom Zerme, which is
my grandmother,
Jake's grandmother. And we kind of talked to her about what a podcast is, ideas for a scavenger hunt, because this was one of our earlier ideas. And so, Momom Zerme, we could put the clip in.
Do you know what a podcast is?
No, but probably something small that's going to build into something big. Hope what?
Fair. I mean, I think that's a good assessment.
We hope that it does turn into maybe something big. It doesn't have to, but it'll be an added bonus. So, like, a podcast is like a radio show that you put on the internet. But
it's all audio. It's audio based. Like, yeah, it's all audio based.
So there's no video.
That's good. Pap will be able to hear it because he doesn't see. Honey.
And so that was her idea of what a podcast is. And so she was right. I mean, I don't think she was wrong, though.
No?
I don't think she was wrong, because coming from, kind of a different era, like, that's...
Yeah. Well, she knows radio. That's her
logic. I thought it was a logical response there. And where this little makeshift interview goes, none of us planned on it for to go. I think we're going to save that for...
We will. We'll parcel that one out.
Well, yeah, but she's very, very...
sage in her wisdom,
sage.
I'd say is a good word.
I mean, that's a great word
to use. She's lived a lot.
She's, very nice woman, always very, very kind, and with very much respect, we will play more clips of Momom Zerme later on down the road.
In that respect, I'm looking to get some preschoolers' ideas on what a podcast is. I mentioned that earlier. I cannot wait. I'm excited about that bit. I cannot wait for that.
And that's something we discussed as well. Talking to preschoolers and just saying, what's a podcast to you? Yeah. What's a podcast to you? And whatever they think of, go from there. But the scavenger hunt, something that she mentioned, was old photographs, and so we're gonna encompass that into it. And so I think we decided that it has to have a date on it, and so the person with the oldest photograph will get 10 points. And some of them, I haven't really looked at the points value, but some of the ideas that I came up with. So the scavenger hunt, and again, whoever has the most points gets to plan the next episode when we do this. Closed Scotch tape roll. So as many as you can bring in. Completely sealed. And to say this, there's 2 rules here. We're going to go by, you can't buy any of this. Number 1, you can't buy any of these things. And number 2, you can't already have it. Because obviously, if I was looking around the room and I was just like, weird frogs statues, boom, you would have it down. Because I'm looking at a weird frog statue.
I do have one.
So it's things you don't have. They could be common. They could be uncommon. So oldest photograph, closed Scotch tape rolls of any kind. Here's one that I think is going to get your gill. Matching baby clothes outfit is how I wrote it.
Unbelievable. That's one of your ideas?
Yeah.
And I cannot buy it.
You can't buy it.
Oh my god. I think this should be a long term. I don't think we could do this over 1 week. We should
not
do this
to
over
next week, but
no. We should do this over many weeks. And like, in the coming weeks we'll be like, so how's your scavenger hunt going?
Baby clothes outfit.
So my thoughts are, if you get maybe 2 sealed Scotch tape rolls, is that worth 2?
That's like,
so if I get 3 sets of matching baby clothes.
Yes, that's the idea. Because that's the thing. These are what you could get.
Okay.
If you just say like fuck all these, I don't want any of these. And then you're just like, I'm gonna go mass baby clothes outfits. You could just bring in 6.
Strategy.
But anyway, so oldest photograph, closed Scotch tape rolls, matching baby clothes outfit. This is an audio portion of it. An audio clip of someone screaming for the longest. So let's say you think you found your clip, you play it. I play mine, and whoever's is the longest. And I'm not talking like, oh, I'm talking like, ah, like it goes. It just goes.
Unbelievable.
So that was an idea. So an audio of someone screaming the loudest. An old political campaign sign when you stick in the ground.
But not a current one.
Not a current one. So
I like
last
that.
election. So you're, you know, I mean, who even runs around here? Who even named someone that's ran?
I don't. Yeah.
Name someone that's ran for anything, right?
I'm not sure.
Right, judge, nothing. So, I thought that was a good one.
That's a weird one.
In this, I guess this is kind of the matching baby clothes outfit. I think this is where this idea came from, but something you created when you were when you were under the age of 10. So like you could just mask that. Like here's a book
I have
wrote.
a feeling you're gonna win that because you have. I've seen Todd drawings. I've seen Todd drawings, and Todd's drawings of people. They all look like they're wearing footy pajamas. They all look like they're wearing very long pajamas.
Well, I'm not just talking about like just one. Like it has to be. Well, see, this is kind of where the gray area. But it has to be a thing. It has to be. It can't just be like I scribbled this. It has to be a thing.
Something you created.
Something you created,
Okay.
and we'll be able to like openly discuss.
We could do that.
If it's like, you know, I think that has a lot of gray area, but I think I think you'll be able to see something and you'll say like that definitely passes, you know. So like whether it was like an art project or maybe something you wrote or a costume you made or something, I don't know, but there is some gray area, but you know what isn't what it is. So also I have I meant to write deflated, but I wrote delated. So but it's deflated. A deflated sports ball. Deflated
So
sports
basketball,
ball, football, etc.
soccer.
Soccer ball. It has to be
volleyball.
It has to be deflated though. It has to be deflated. Like it can't have air in it. And you can't. Well, maybe you could, if you want, you could take the air out of something and bring it.
I've never taken the air out of anything.
And I haven't.
It's already
either.
just done it by itself.
Yeah, but also here's something you can't do because I thought about this. If you're gonna take air out of the ball, you can't like stab it and say, okay, it's deflated. Like,
I wouldn't sabotage a ball like that.
Right. So, oldest photograph, clothes tape roll of any kind, matching baby clothes outfit, audio of someone screaming the longest, old political campaign sign, something you created when you were under the age of 10, and a deflated sports ball. A deflated sports ball. And when it comes to it, we'll assign those to points. Like, we'll assign those to points.
Yeah. Different values.
Different values.
Well,
And-
I'm gonna have to think because I'd like to add some of these, and I hope that some of you will send in your submissions. I'd love to get some outside.
Is that your
help
kid
on
at
this.
yahoo.com? Is that your kid.com? Tumblr.com? At is that your kid? Because I've got a feeling that no one is going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So
So keep at it.
keep at it. Also, we're looking for any kind of fan art. Thanks to Philip Romano and Don Derbyshire for the first two pieces of fan art we have. We're going to use those for now, for the Tumblr, for the Twitter, and just go from there. But if you want to make anything, do it. I definitely want you to. I'll say that. I definitely want you to. But I'm going to end on a segment today that there's actually more ideas I have listed, but that's okay. We don't have to keep doing that. Quickly, I'm going to run off a couple of ideas here. An episode where we play Stratego the whole time.
Board game. Strategy board game.
Our mutual friend Mike Slobodian, who will be on at some point, I wanted to do a drunk draft Madden. So those two people that are into nerd stuff and also athletics, you will enjoy that one. So we're just going to be drafting our Madden teams when we're intoxicated. Also, Jake's band, the Seams. I don't know if you mentioned that. I'd like to have like a Seams interview. Also, Mike, the Mike I just mentioned, he's in two bands out of Pittsburgh, Atlas and the Velcro Shoes. I'd like to have, that would be cool if you debuted a song on Is That Your Kid?
Yeah. Okay.
Like
as
just
an
threw it
intro?
into the mix
Okay.
and say like that's that for him as well. I have a lot, and a lot of them I'm just gonna not mention because they're very, very half cooked. But one thing I do want to finish on, and I don't know if Jake knows about this, but I plan on reading the entire original Goosebumps run. And so for week 1 of this, I read number 1, which is Welcome to Dead House. And I just thought of this. The funny thing about this is I was just hanging out in my room, and I was thinking about doing this, and I was like kind of proud of the idea. And then I was looking over Facebook, and there was some kid that graduated a couple years after me in high school that's now a motivational speaker in Florida and like doing something. And I'm just like, here he is, like a motivational speaker in Florida. I'm looking at a picture of him in a suit on the beach, like just like, I made it, I'm on a beach. And here I am thinking like, I've got a great idea for 2014. Why don't I read all the Goosebumps books?
So you plan on reading all of them?
1 through 62.
Unbelievable. I mean, they're not long.
No.
Certainly. They're young, for young minds.
Uh-huh.
But
Welcome to Dead House was number 1.
Okay.
Have you read any of them?
I've read a lot. I've read the Monster Bloods. I think there's 3, right?
I'll go.
One's obviously best.
Maybe I'll let you do that one when it comes to Monster Blood time.
I'll reread Monster Blood.
Okay, because Monster Blood's like 3 or 4 or 5 in the top 5.
Okay.
Like in that. But number 1 is called Welcome to Dead House, and that.
And you're gonna review this like a book review.
A book review.
Interesting. Pros, cons, how haunted the characters might have been.
How haunted is generally the most important thing. In Welcome to Dead House, I'll say this: haunts daily. It's the whole deal is haunted, and it sets up Amanda and Josh. They go to Dark Falls, which I don't know if it named the state. And it was one of those tales, and this is an early R.L. Stine tale, so it was just when he was getting his hands dirty, or his hands spooky, getting your hands spooky, you know how that is.
Spooky, scary.
And so these two are forced by their parents to move to a new house, and it's one of those tales where little by little you find out the house is haunted. And what I read about this is the fact that R.L. Stine, early in the Goosebumps run, he was trying to create stories that appealed to young girls, young women. And so the Goosebumps were made for girls earlier on, which I did not know.
I did not know that, and I'm having trouble believing you, but I do believe you.
You can look it up on the Wikipedia. You can go through the Wikipedia as I'm talking.
Okay.
And there was a lot of times that the character Amanda, R.L. Stine would just like write things, because I said they were supposed to appeal to girls. So he would write things in the sense of like, well, girls are cool, boys are gross type. And so like anything that Amanda would do, it's just like, well, because I'm a girl, that's why I know how to do that. And it's just like, all right.
Well, I'm interested to hear your review of Dead House.
Yeah.
Goosebumps 1.
So, it was a little rusty. I mean, I don't think it's going to be one of my favorites, because I don't want to spoil too much for those who just might go out and get it, right? But the house, they realized, long story short, the kids realized the house is haunted. Curtains are moving when they're sleeping. Little boys are appearing in windows, all kinds of stuff. And every time they leave the house, they see this other little boy, and they're just like, where did I see you before? And they start to hang out with kids around the neighborhood.
I bet all the kids in the neighborhood are dead.
Yes. Yes.
Did I get it?
Yes, right. And you knew where it was going. You realized that everybody in the neighborhood is dead. And the kids that they were seeing as ghost kids in the house were those kids. And it turns out that the house, you move into that house, and this is when there was like kind of plot holes, because it's just like, why do you have to move into the house for them to kill you, and when is the right time? Because it was just like, they were living there for such a long time, and then the kids were just like, yeah, we were trying to kill you. It's just like, well, why didn't you do it like that time? Like, right when you came...
Well, no one gets haunted outside.
Right.
Unless you're like in Gettysburg. You gotta be inside.
You've got to get inside to get real haunted.
It's Ghost 101, Todd. You should know that.
Yeah. And
Gotta be inside.
you've got to be but they were getting haunted inside, too.
Yeah,
but it's just like, they could have killed them at any time, but didn't.
Well.
And the most annoying part of this...
Could be in the ghost rulebook for haunting.
The most...
Could be.
True. The most annoying part of this novel is the fact that R.L. Stine writes in this dog, and I can't remember the dog's name right off the top of my head, but he insists on being so specific. He doesn't use any sort of context clues whatsoever. He always has to write everything imperatively. Like, the dog was barking at the stranger. Why was the dog... And, like, it was all of that. And then it was finally revealed, like, well, the dog was barking at all these strangers because the dog knew they were dead. And dogs could always tell. And it's just like, I know that. Like, you did that once, and it made my mind think, why did it bark, you know? But it just kept barking. And you're like, you're telling me they're dead already. And that's what ruined it. And the dog was the worst part, because, spoilers, the dog eventually gets killed.
Oh. Was he inside?
No.
What?
Well, dogs aren't inside, traditionally, when they're murdered. And
if you're getting haunted, like,
but
ghost killed
there's
him?
no on-page killing. Like, it's not saying, dog died. It's just like, the dog comes around and the dog's smelly and gross and very, like, unresponsive. And then they realizes the dog has been killed and has come back to life.
As a ghost.
And he was the worst part of Welcome to Dead House. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but there is a little cliffhanger ending. Amanda and Josh and the family do get out alive. But another family moves into the house at the end, and Amanda doesn't say anything about it.
Why would she?
And that's the end of it. And that was Welcome to Dead House, R.L. Stine #1.
Ah, so you've already read this?
I've already read it.
You know what? I missed that whole thing. I thought you were going to read it.
No.
So he's already read it, folks.
Well, why would I?
Because I thought you were just reminiscing on the first time you read it through as a child.
No.
Oh,
I've read it. That's what I was saying. That's why I was like...
So that is book review #1.
That's book review.
You realize if
#1.
there's 62 books, you have to read more than one a week.
Well, yeah.
Well.
Yeah. And the cover artist, Tim Jacobus, is who I think... Jake's laughing at me that I know that.
Only you would look it up or know that.
I know that. And I think he does the original artwork for all the original covers. These, by the way, I didn't rebuy these. These are something I had in my basement.
Oh, cool.
And Jake will tell you this. Some of the covers on my books are bent, and like I'm making a face talking about it. Like, you know how when you touch like cardboard and it's ripped a little bit, it feels weird, and your hands get mad at it? Some of them are like that. How do you think I'm going to deal with that reading a book?
They don't know this, but I'll know this. You're going to freak out. You're not going to like the texture of what those books are going to feel like.
And I will, that'll be the first thing on the Tumblr. I'm going to post me holding the book and kind of go over what we said here.
Cool. And
to kind of send this out, I think the best way to introduce this podcast is to say, what is that your kid about? Because I don't even think we covered that whatsoever. Like, what that means. If you want,
what the title would...
Yeah, because this is Jake's thing. He started to say, is that your kid? And he could tell you why, what you do with that and what that meant.
I can't. No.
There's nothing there?
I've got nothing.
So you just say, like, how this was introduced to me, Jake would roll down the window at a red light, and he would just look at, I guess, an older person, and he would just say, is that your kid? And then they would look, and we would drive away. That's how you were first introduced that to me. Do you know that?
No.
That's how you first introduced that to me. I got that from that.
I have no recollection of that.
A Dairy Queen parking lot in White Oak.
Oh. Is that when you told me to flip up my collar and act like Dracula?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I did not want to be like Dracula.
You really know? That's where I got this whole idea from. Was that day?
I get it now. I don't remember that.
This is what you did this for. This was an ongoing bit of yours.
Wow.
You would do that. You would
Yikes.
stop. You stopped at the red light. You would roll down a window, and you would just go, "Is that your kid? Is that your kid?" And then drive away.
It sounds funny. Could be something I've done. Todd is taking off his glasses and rubbing his eyes.
This is why I named the podcast this. I named it after you. You did this. This was a thing you did For years. You did this for years.
Oh, man.
Where do you think that name came from?
Well, I know now. I like it. Even a little bit more now.
But, so, the idea, we want to send this podcast out with one of Jake's students yelling, "Is that your kid?" So they would just go, "Is that your kid?" And then done. That's how we would just play that.
Expect that in the future.
So this was episode 1, the pilot. Again, you could hit us up. Is that your kid at yahoo.com, at is that your kid on Twitter, and is that your kid.tumblr.com. Any last words, Jake? I'll let you send it out.
Thanks for listening. This is where it would be. Is that your kid?
Yeah. And cut.
And then cut.
Mm-hmm.